The best of Money Matters. The Big Story.
Welcome to The Big Story. I'm Hongbin Jeong. Teenage pregnancy is more than just a statistic. It's a life-changing experience that affects young mothers, their families, and the wider community. According to the Immigration and Checkpoints Authority, their data from 2024 showed a 7% increase in babies born to teens age 19 and below here in Singapore, reversing a long-term downward trend. Now, this rise raises important questions about its causes, the effectiveness of current sex education, and the roles that institutions and parents play in prevention and support. So what is driving this uptick in teen pregnancies? How can schools and organizations improve the curriculum and resources available? And what can parents do to better support their children? Well, joining us today is Melisa Wong, who is the Executive Director of Babes Pregnancy Crisis Support, to shed light on this issue and what more can be done to support these young mothers. Hi, Melisa. Welcome to the show.
Hi, good afternoon.
Thank you so much for joining us. Well, Melisa, a 7% increase in teen pregnancies. Now, it's a slight but notable rise, reversing a long-term downward trend we've seen since 2005 when there were more than 850 teen births. What do you think is contributing to this uptick in teen pregnancies after nearly 2 decades of decline?
Yeah, I think one thing for sure is definitely post-COVID. Things have really taken a huge change. A lot of people are definitely more connected. And if you look at how teens get into relationships, that has also changed a lot. I mean, if you look at different generations, how we define now their situationship. So, how teens even define intimacy. So, we are also seeing a shift in the last 3 years on how they define relationship, intimacy. And this could have also led to how they view relationships, resulting in possible unplanned pregnancies. And outcomes could be either delivering the child or even abortions.
Well, it's also noted that the majority of pregnant teens are between 16 and 18 years old, although some have been as young as 12. Now, many are choosing to keep their babies, even in the face of strong opposition from family or a lack of support from their partners. Why do you think some girls choose to continue with the pregnancy? Is it mainly because of their personal beliefs or religion or other factors?
So there are actually a few aspects. One thing is depending on at which stage they discover the pregnancy. So, in the last 2-3 years, Babes has actually seen more teens discovering their pregnancy at a later stage, meaning it could be the second or third trimester. That's one. So, meaning the option to terminate would not be there. So, they could either deliver or put up for fostering. So the other thing could be the attachment and even religious belief. Yeah, so of course, if we look at our sex education system, it's abstinence. So of course, if you find yourself in an unplanned pregnancy, they do not want to, probably because of guilt, they do not want to sin again. So many of them do continue with the pregnancy. Yeah, so these are some of the reasons that contribute.
Well, if one does choose to continue with the pregnancy, what are the risks here? What are the challenges that they face if they do, choose to keep this child, aside from the lack of support from their loved ones?
So there could be the physical challenges because as teens, your body is still developing. So depending on how old you are. So the youngest that Babes has actually supported is 12 years old. And in the last 3 years, the youngest has been about 15 years old. So they do face the physical stress on their body in terms of carrying the child. So we do have a few service users who actually experience premature delivery. So this is an impact on the mother-child in terms of how can she care for the baby because the child will be in ICU. So it does cause some emotional stress in having to care for the child and even for herself. That's one. And of course, next is probably what's next. Most of them may not have completed their education. The highest level could possibly be PSLE or even N-levels at times. So getting back to school, going or even seeking employment could be a challenge because with the child delivered, who will then take care of the child?
Right.
So even as adults, we do face that challenge, let alone a teen who is still developing and growing. Yeah.
But this 7% rise in teen pregnancies, is this a big concern?
So if you're looking at absolute numbers, it may be small, but this is not just a statistic. It's a life, a family.
Right.
And if you look at it, for teens who are probably 16 to 18, they are still a child at home.
Yeah.
So having another baby, it could be 3 generations. So depending what's the situation at home, be it whether, financially, are they able to support the kid? Is there parents to look after? So it's really quite multifaceted.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, aside from the rise in numbers here, the report also highlights that some teens only seek help in their 3rd trimester when abortion is no longer an option, and others choose not to name the baby's father at all. Why do some teens delay seeking help until cycle so late in the pregnancy?
So it could be fear. And of course, the discovery of the pregnancy. Because sometimes I think as ladies, when we do miss our period, we might think it's normal. So after 1-2 cycles, and slowly your bum may show, or you may or may not experience nausea. So depending on which stage they discover their pregnancy, they may just brush it off. Because their frames are so petite, sometimes it's really hard to see the baby bump. Right. Yeah, so I mean, that's where probably, or the other could be the fear of, going to see a doctor. Because if we look at the healthcare system, should any one of us go through the usual polyclinic? So now we have the health hub. So for all children who are below 21 years old, should they go see a polyclinic, their parents will be alerted. So teens are aware of this. So this kind of deter them from seeing a doctor at the polyclinic. So should they have the resources, they may go to a GP. If not, that would cost you at least probably $30, $40 for just a consultation.
Right.
So they may not have the means. So the delay in seeking healthcare services could also be one reason why, the discovery could be later. As much as we do have the DIY pregnancy test kit. But that is just, for them to, to test that they're pregnant. But really determining, the stage of the gestation, how many months, that would take a while. And after a while, they know they can't hide. Yeah.
With that said, do you think there aren't enough confidential and accessible services for them to seek help safely and early?
On the physical aspect, definitely going to a clinic is safe, but the psychological aspect and that fear on how then do they face their parents, probably that's something that a lot of teens do face. Like, how do I tell my parents, would they kick me out of the house and would they be judged? So, I mean, even for them to step into the polyclinic at the prenatal services, some of them do get judged. So these are the fears that they face even just stepping into the clinic.
Okay. Well, the trend has also prompted discussions around whether Singapore's current approach to sex education is effective here. Many teens say they aren't using contraceptives due to lack of access, misinformation, or even fear. So looking at the current curriculum, do you think the sex education curriculum here in Singapore adequately prepares teens to make informed decisions? What do you think is lacking?
I think as with sex education and education as a whole, the school can only play so much in terms of educating the students. Definitely, we have come a long way in our sex ed. Right. I mean, now it starts from 11 years old at P5, and it's a holistic approach. Definitely as a nation, it's the ABC, abstinence, be faithful, and use condom. Yeah, but at the school level, parents do get the option to opt their children out.
Okay.
Yeah. So for parents who do opt their children out, how then are the children educated on conversations like this? And if you're looking at the curriculum, it's probably about 3 hours in a year, definitely age appropriate. But I must say, even we look at what we have in preschool these days, we are even starting young in terms of consent, body touch, good touch, bad touch. But how then at home as parents, do we then reinforce this information and have open conversations? Because you can have sex ed in school, but back at home, are parents prepared to talk to their children beyond puberty? Yeah, so I think that's also a challenge if we look at holistic conversations that is age appropriate. Yeah.
Well, then what do you believe is most urgently needed now, whether at the policy level, education, or public attitudes?
I mean, looking at where we are now, there's no right or wrong, there's no one size fits all. So at this point in time, if you're looking at access to contraceptive, the only one that's readily available would be the condoms. But if we're looking at how then do we even use condoms? Are girls educated? The boys know how to use that? As parents, are we willing to go through the exercise to educate our children using condoms? That's one. The other is, as ladies, we actually need to see the doctor to access contraceptives. So is this something that, as ladies, children, that we are aware of? Even seeing a gynae, for example. So it's very basic, like even going to the gynecologist or even family planning. Is this something in our day-to-day conversation that we are open to talk about? So even as we look at reproductive health, it's beyond sex. Yeah, how then do we normalize conversations such that we can talk about it openly? Because eventually, as ladies, as boys, as we go into adulthood, family planning, sex, reproductive health is something that concerns all of us. So, I mean, having that openness to talk about it will be a first step. As much as we can do policy changes, we need to have that mindset shift.
Yeah, it's very important to have this kind of public discourse, right? I mean, earlier you mentioned there is so much that a school can do, and you did mention that in terms of sex education, Singapore has come a long way. But then what role should parents play in helping prevent teen pregnancies or even supporting their children when it happens?
Yeah, so I mean, there's always this saying, right? Prevention is better than cure. So I mean, that's where talking about to your children about relationships starting early. that helps.
If you say starting early, at what age should they start?
So, I have 2 young kids at this point. They are P1 and P3. So, I have experienced them going through preschool. So, probably at the age of 4 or 5, they start with things like consent, yes and no.
Okay.
So, it can be as simple as how to say no if somebody wants to borrow your eraser, for example. So, this leads into going to adulthood, into relationships. So, starting young, it's okay to say no if an uncle and auntie wants to hug you or want to kiss you. Yeah, so it's that constant reinforcement. So you don't just sit down a teenager one day and tell them about relationships.
Right.
Yeah, so as with our values and growing up as a family, it's a day-to-day experience that you go through. Yeah.
I mean, I totally agree with you. It doesn't have to be a straight-on talk about sex education.
Yes.
It really can just talk about the minor things step by step, even if it's just teaching them about consent.
Okay.
Now, I believe that Babe's Pregnancy Crisis Support has been working directly with teen mothers here in Singapore, offering emotional support, essentials like milk and diapers, and counseling. So what is the process for teens, to reach out to Babes for support, and what immediate help can they expect?
Yeah, so for us, you can access us via WhatsApp or even social media. So we are just a text or call away. So we provide a safe space and confidential environment that, the focus is on you. So, should anyone face any challenges, be it a teen, a scared parent, or even an educator or an adult, feel free to reach out to us and we'll be there to journey with you.
Amazing. And what message would you like to share with teens who may be going through this experience right now and don't know where to turn?
Yeah, I would say that you are not alone. Yeah, as much as the internet is there, the internet may not have all the answers or the right answer. It's always good to speak to someone. Yeah, so we are here for you. So if there's anything, you could always just drop us a note and we'll be there to take you step by step.
Thank you so much, Melisa, for joining me today.
Thank you.
That was Melisa Wong, who's Executive Director of Babe's Pregnancy Crisis Support. This has been The Big Story with me, Hongbin Jeong.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.